Kuzoo FM Radio.
The voice of the youth.
Kuzoo FM Radio.
Your station for great songs all day long.
Good evening, listeners. This is RJ Tashi, and you're now tuned into Kuzoo FM 105 and 107, depending on where you are listening from. Time here at the studio is 5 p.m., and this is the 10th episode of Limelight. And for today's guest, we have Dr. Tregxel Dorji. He's a co-founder of GOKAB and a founder of a very exciting project called Project Mountain Bhutan. Hi, Mr. Dr. Tregxel. Thank you so much for making time here and coming here all the way from your busy schedule.
Thank you, Tashi. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here at Kuzoo FM. I have to be very honest that I've been trying to be online, on air, but I feel the need, especially for the project and for myself to, try and enhance my public speaking, because it's really necessary, especially when it comes to trying to spread the oral hygiene health to the people. So thank you again, Kuzoo and Tashi, for having me here.
Well, thank you so much. So, to get right into our interview about Project Mountain Dentist, what inspired you to, start this project?
It's actually a lot of incidents that, merged, and I realized that this initiative would be really necessary. So back then, when there were not many Bhutanese campers or hikers or trekkers, we had a small group called Trekkers 360, and our friends, we kept on trekking. So it was not usual for the people, especially in the communities, highland communities, to see Bhutanese trek.
When was this?
2019.
Oh, okay.
So if you see now, there are a lot of people, because I think because of the COVID thing, so
yeah.
they don't get to go out, so people enjoy the mountains, which was one of the intentions of the group. So every time we reached a community, so the people there were very curious first, and then excited to find out that there was a dentist and a doctor in our group. So we would have people lined up before we actually reached the camp, and as a dentist and as a medical professional, so it was my duty to cater to the needs. I did check them, but unfortunately it was very sad for me, because I knew that they really needed help, but the only thing that I had with me was pain medications, so all I could do was just medicate them. And as we completed our trek and reached back to my general work, this thing was always there behind my head, that I know that I have given pain medication to someone and he really needs help. So, so I think that was one of many incidents that actually helped me start this project.
So, before you started this project and before you became a dentist, I believe I read somewhere that you didn't initially start off to be a dentist. So how did that happen?
So back then, 2006, when we didn't have fast internet or good resource when it comes to career counseling or education when it comes. So I was somewhat really interested in prosthesis and medical and even the digital side. So I tried to curate or make my own curriculum. So I wanted to do something which involved prosthetic designing and something medical and digital. So I wanted to become a prosthetic surgeon. So I finally could register myself in a biomedical course. And then so happened that after a month I had to go as a friend to drop one of my cousin sisters. She was taking journalism in Chennai. So I went along with her. It was her first time outside Bhutan. And as we reached Chennai and on the way to college, her college, I saw this big university, and I just wanted to have a look because they had written dental college. So
Oh,
I've never
okay.
heard about a dental college then. So we went inside, and I was really fascinated to see kids, you know, working in the lab, trying to make prosthetic teeth, working on patients, and then just so happened that, you know, luck that they had admissions open for interviews. And so I paid 2,000 Indian rupees,
Rupees,
and signed up and wrote an exam, and I got through, and then I never came back home for 3 years. And so dentistry chose me. That's what I say if people ask me, you know, what inspired me to be a dentist. Actually, that was not the intention, but I would never regret that journey and the decision that I made.
It was like destiny, always meant to be.
Yes.
Maybe
dentistry.
Project Mountain Dentist was always, you know, in there somewhere in the future. So, you know, does Project Mountain Dentist work as a separate individual group, or are you like in link with something, an
So,
organization maybe?
I have to let you know and let the people know who are listening that I no longer work in the ministry or as a civil servant. It's been almost more than 3 years now that I've resigned. It's not because I don't like my job. As a civil servant, many would presume, I might go outside or something like that. But it's because I really wanted to do this project, and it's an individual initiative, but I make sure that every time this project happens, I make sure that I involve dentists of that specific region. Say, for example, if I'm planning on going to Lindsay, I make sure that I take this dentist from Lindsay along with the with me and the project, because I've stayed in Paro, and I know how it feels, especially just working in the clinic and not knowing your community, especially even. So it was a good chance for this dentist to, you know, explore his own region and to know the community, and the community to know the dentist
Dentist
there.
as well, yeah.
And I opened the floor to volunteers. So I have dentists who are unemployed, who work as volunteers, and people with medical background and people with non-medical background. So yeah, it's a collective program. Started as an individual, but then that's my goal, to involve as many people as possible in the project.
Wait, so Project Mountain Dentist, how many
Dentistry.
members do you have?
So since it's not an officially registered project, it's just an initiative, so I do not have signed members, but I call them volunteers. So I have ambassadors from different Zongkoks, the local dentists there. So I'm trying to cover almost everyone. So I consider them as ambassadors. And then we have 6 non-employed dentists as volunteers. And then I have this project has a public health graduate. Her name is Tille Dema. So she's been helping me, especially when it comes to project management, because we are not taught project management, and I've been learning it online on Skillshare and, you know, writing proposals and stuff. So she's been helping me with that. So this is the small team that we have right now.
You know, I've got to ask this because, you know, you gave up your job as a civil servant, as a dentist in the civil service, to start this very important, very meaningful project, Project Mountain Dentist, to, you know, make sure that your services are reached all nooks and corners of the country. So I've got to ask, like, how important is like oral health and oral hygiene to maintain that?
Yes. So if it's like I would say it's above very important, because it's above very important, because for a person to be healthy, you need good diet, right? And the welcome gate, or the, you know, that's where it starts, from the mouth. And if you do not have a good oral health, you would not be able to eat properly, you know, won't be able to enjoy your food. You know, the nourishment starts from your mouth. So that person won't be healthy. So in order to have a good health, it has to start from your mouth and your oral hygiene and your dental health. So that's very important.
Because here, I don't think we advocate, or we, you know, tell our students, young children, or even us ourselves as adults, you know, we don't really care about our oral health or dental hygiene.
So yeah, that's very true, and that's one of the vision or one of the objectives that we have for the project once we grow is to make a lot of materials for people to easily have access to when it comes to proper oral health educations, because there's a lot of myth around, in let's not talk about the world, but in Bhutan, like, there are myths saying, like, if you have toothache, start eating doma, or,
Yes.
soak your tooth in alcohol, or there's so many ridiculous things, but then it has come from somewhere, and there's no mythbusters and stuff like that. So, and if I may, I would like to ask you a small question. It's not exactly a question, but it's something related with our daily habit, and I feel like almost everyone does it. So
Okay.
I want it to come from you. Like, what's the first thing that you do when you wake up?
The first thing that I do is
Yeah.
I get out of bed and I brush my teeth.
Yeah. So now the reason why I'm saying this is because why do we brush our teeth?
Oh, that I don't really know.
So now, in order to continue, we brush our teeth not to make it white. It's just to cleanse off the food materials that you have in your mouth, right? So that that food does not become a source of food for the bacteria to invade on your tooth. Because when the bacteria starts eating on the tooth, on the food, it releases acid. That's the acid that actually spoils your tooth, right?
Okay.
So most of the people, although they brush at night, they
Yeah.
wake up in the morning and they brush and they eat.
Yes.
And now they have a mouth filled with food, and that's staying there in the entire day in the
yes,
mouth.
Yes.
So do you think brushing, the purpose of brushing is being met?
No. So when do you brush?
So I rinse my mouth as soon as I wake up,
Mm-hmm.
and I eat my food, and then I clean. I brush
then
and
you
clean,
brush.
cleaned out.
Oh,
So these
okay.
are small things which has become what do you call it, a tradition, and then it's become customary, and then people just do it because someone else did it and no one questions it, and then it has become a part. So this is one of the objectives. We want to create such materials so that, and this coming to Kuzoo would be one of the objectives, trying to make people understand what's important and what could be, what's the daily practice that you might be doing wrong or not correct. So am I on track or?
Yeah. I never thought about, why I
Why,
brush my
yes.
teeth the first thing in the morning.
So that would be one of my closing remarks later on. So I'll keep it for the end.
Okay, so since Mountain Dentist Project Mountain Dentist has been going on for 4 years,
Yeah.
and you have traveled to a lot of places in Bhutan. Do you have any interesting stories or interesting anecdotes to share to the public? Maybe?
Oh yeah. So the thing is, what keeps me going is because every journey, every experience, every preparation for all these camps, right? It's a story, a different story every time, and it's a very interesting story, inspiring story for myself and for the project. So it's not every time that you ride on the back of a truck or suddenly remember to pray for your life because the road's very scary, especially when you go to the east. You have fresh cut roads, so if you look on the other side, it's like you feel like you have to remember your high school prayers and you start praying and stuff like that. And when you actually reach to a village, right? So it's really interesting. So I would like to share a story, and I would not specifically name which village or
Okay,
the
yes.
person, but so one time I set up camp in a remote village, and the local leader there came to me, and then we started talking, and I was like, have you that person has, or the village has never ever seen a dentist or heard about a dentist. So I was just curious, and I asked him, like, so what do you do when you actually have toothache or complications or pain or something like that. So that's when he shared the story, like normally they would go to the local shaman or the priest there,
Okay,
what do you call it in Zonka?
Lama?
Lam sila bro Tsip sila mewa.
Tsip, okay,
Tsip.
yes, yes,
So
yes.
it's not exactly lama, but he's a villager, but he does the motapni, and so they go to this local shaman, right? So he went to his local shaman with his wife because his wife was having a lot of toothache and she could not sleep. So then I asked, like, what happens next? So they were both offered thup,
Mm-hmm.
So that was for the initial energy, I guess.
Okay.
So then they explained about the toothache, and then he asked the wife, the local leader's wife, to open her mouth, and then he looked at it and recited some prayers, and then he said, it's been overpowered by a demon and it has to come out.
Oh, okay.
Then I was curious, like, then what did he do?
Uh-huh.
Then the priest actually, the shaman, he took out a bamboo stick
No.
and he placed the one end on the affected tooth,
No.
and on the other side he had a rock in his hand.
Like a hammer.
Not hammer, but it was a legit river rock.
Oh no.
So then, as the shaman was about to hit the other end of the bamboo,
Mm-hmm.
the local leader's wife, the patient, she sneezed.
Okay.
She sneezed and the bamboo shifted to the other tooth.
Oh.
And, then, the shaman managed to remove the wrong tooth.
The healthy
And,
tooth.
yeah. So that time when the local leader, he shared, he was like, all in jest, and he was like really happy. He was laughing and he found it very funny. But I could only imagine that actual moment when it really happened, it could have been like really serious. So these are small stories that, it's funny to hear,
Yeah.
but at the same time it's really sad.
It's very scary.
It's scary and it's sad because we're talking about the 21st century right now, and most of the listeners here might be in a Tsongkhag or in Thimphu, where they have a proper hospital and a dental clinic, and all these clinics are now using technologies like implants, lasers, and everything. And at the same time, when when there is there is a Bhutanese who's receiving such rudimentary and medieval kind of a treatment. So these are stories that I come across, and which really inspires me to keep on doing it, besides the certain challenges that I have. But those challenges doesn't matter especially when you're helping these small communities and their people.
I've got to ask, did you meet the local leader, your wife?
Yes, she did come, and she was too embarrassed to come in front of me.
Oh, so
Yeah.
you didn't get to check her
Yeah,
teeth?
I did get to check her teeth, because I make sure that I do not leave anyone behind. So yes, there was damage done to her the good teeth, and there were fragments broken. And I had to remove those, and then treatment on the actual affected tooth. So,
Must have been so painful. Oh my god!
Yeah,
Even
it
here
must
at the
have.
hospital, it's so
And
painful.
so I was asking, like, what happens when there's excessive bleeding. So there was that local shaman apparently gives ma, the heated butter,
melted
right?
butter, yeah.
So he asks his clients to drink those. So like these, there's so many rudimental practices that's been done, because it's out of desperation, because when you're in pain you want to do something, and
Something,
if
yeah.
there's nothing to do, then nowhere else to go with proper.
Yes.
So they have to rely on all these.
When you were telling me those stories, I just suddenly remembered something that happened during my childhood, and I think it is common practice. When your baby teeth is very loose, and your parents just like attaches a string to it and pulls it out. Is that an advisable practice? Because I think it still happens around.
It does happen, because most of the time I could say it's going to be a bonding experience for the kid and the parent, because it's okay, because by the time, say, 6 years,
Yeah.
when the baby's teeth starts
Falling off.
moving like really on all sides, right? So it's just hanging there, because all the roots are being resolved by the push of the new tooth. So it's okay, but I would suggest the parents to take the kids to the hospital, because that experience won't be as traumatic, or the baby won't have to have injections or anything, and that first experience could be easier for the kids, so that they could follow up for next ones, because sometimes, most of the time, the kid reaches the hospital for treatment which requires injection or something like that, and the kid's traumatized, right? So these small experiences, he couldn't just have it in the clinic, and so that he has or she has a different notion about going to the dentist. So so I would not professionally comment anything on that, but yes, it could be a fun experience for the kid and the parent.
No, I believe
Because
that.
you still remember that,
yeah,
right?
I do.
Yeah.
I ended up with very crooked teeth. Later on, I had to get what do you call those, braces?
Braces
Yes,
on?
yes.
Oh, okay.
So you mentioned challenges earlier. So after you started this project, what kind of challenges do you usually face, and what do you still face? What are some challenges you were about to solve, maybe?
And challenges, there are so many different challenges, but I make sure that none of the challenges hinder my project, because the goal is to do it at a large scale. But because of I would leave finance at the very last, but it's mostly trying to make people understand, especially people. Although I'm not working in the government or
Anymore, yeah.
in the ministry, it's because every time I go to a different Dzongkhag, right? So there is a set protocol when it comes to applying, or I just can't randomly go to a village and start doing it, and I don't want to do it that way either. So I want to involve the local community, the government, the Dzongkhag Dzongdas. So the first thing that they ask is, are you
Okay.
registered somewhere, or
Yes,
do you
of
have a
course.
letter from the ministry or something like that? So that part, the letter part and the registration and the permission part, it's taking a long time, as in 4 years now, almost 4 years now. And I won't blame anyone, because it's something that no one asked me to do it, and I did it because I felt it was necessary. So I feel the importance, and I'm not so sure if the other parties would feel about it, or is as passionate as I am for the project. So maybe it slowly sink in, and then maybe, like I was saying, I'm teaching myself how to write project proposals and all this, right? So maybe that's not good enough. So maybe someone who's listening and who's good at doing all this paperwork, which I'm not, could just help me out. And that's one of the challenges, and my goal is to not forget this communities, and not just do it one time, but hopefully do it as a biannual project. So yes, so that permission part, unless I'm like really acquainted with the administration there, it's really challenging for me to pick a community and just go.
Oh, okay. So each time you visit a community, you need to
Yes.
get permission.
Yes.
Oh,
So
okay.
because I'm trying my best to involve the medical personnel as well, and I have to alert the GOKAB and the chimis,
Oh
and
my God.
so, but if I actually manage to do that, it becomes very easier for me in order to communicate with the communities, because I don't have to go there and announce, because they have their own group chats or something like that, so they are already pre-announced, saying like dentist is on your way, and
Yeah.
you're going to get the services and
Oh,
stuff like that.
okay.
So if that part, that circle, or that whole thing is dealt with, then it'll be very smooth, and I see progress, like exponentially growing.
That's
So
great.
that's the only challenge, but I'm taking it very slow right now, and I'm it's not going to stop me, like I
Okay.
previously
That's great.
mentioned. Yes.
So when you visit communities and small villages, how long do you usually spend in that?
Okay. So that totally depends on the density of the population of that specific community. So before we actually go for a camp, we have mock camps in the office, because I every time I work with different people, so I make sure that everyone's at the same page when it comes to working, and I am specifically very strict when it comes to the type of work that we do. So there is no compromisation when it comes to quality of treatment, and I make sure that when we go to this village, this project gives the highest treatment, the best kind of treatment that maybe some might not get in good hospitals as well. I won't name it, but then yeah. So the number of days should not be a factor for us. We make sure that we finish each and every community, every people in that community,
Oh,
even if it's
interesting.
just for evaluation, just checking that, even if they don't have, I make sure that they sit on that dental chair at least once, and then we have datas, so that the second visit we know how to prepare for the second visit.
So you do revisit the communities.
Yes, I do revisit, and that's one of the goals, to at least have like a biannual visit. So in order to go for a second visit, we need good data. So say for example, every time I prepare myself for a series of extractions when it comes to the first visit, because I know this community has never seen a dentist, so the tooth would be at a very sad stage. So, but I have this data, and I know the amount of tooth that I've extracted. So the next time I go, I'm prepared, and I know that these many people need a replacement. These many people need cosmetic treatment, and so that's how we prepare our equipments on the second visit.
Oh wait, talking about equipments, where do you what kind of equipments do you have as a mountain dentist?
So as I was mentioning, I do not compromise when it comes to quality. So most of the time, there are few camps that's been organized by the ministry, but it's called outreach camps. But it's not very. I've not seen it done for the dental camp because it's close to impossible for a dentist to carry all the
because you have, like-
you've seen the
Yeah,
dental clinic,
yeah,
right? The big
yes.
chairs and the drills and the lights
The
and everything,
kind
right?
of things they have, yeah.
But if you actually look at it, and I have a small innovation team, and so we finally managed to have a suitcase which is packed and it holds all the instruments that you actually see in a standard clinic.
Okay.
And then everything's portable. I have portable lights, portable X-ray machines, portable
interesting.
sterilizers, and so as soon as we reach the camp, we choose a space and we set up clinic. And sometimes I feel this clinic is as par
interesting.
as a high-end dental clinic that you see anywhere. So it's
okay.
I want to make sure that these people experience what not make them feel deprived that I'm in a village and I don't get a good treatment and stuff like that. So that's what we are trying to demystify and help the community. So yeah, the equipments that I received, like I said, are my friends from the trekking group. So they gave me few funds, and then we procured it from the materials from China, and then the team assembled it. And I have a suitcase, a foldable chair. So it goes sometimes behind trucks, behind boleros, behind horses, and on horses, and so it's doable. And I'm planning on maximizing, so getting more of these, around 10 to 20 of these equipments, so that at the same time when I'm in Lingxi, some other team is in the south, or so we're covering a wide range, and it does not become selective communities. For now, it is those.
Because you're
Yeah,
a small
just
team
just
right
a small
now.
team,
Yes,
and
yes.
just one equipment.
Oh, okay, just one equipment right now for
Yeah,
the team.
yeah.
Okay. So, besides your trekker friends, how else do you get your fund for this project?
Oh, it's really interesting. So most of the time, the funds that I require is to buy toothbrushes and paste as a gift for
okay.
the people. So I put it on my Instagram, and I have friends, well-wishers
okay,
who's been following my project, so they donate. And for most of it, the other expenses, especially when it comes to travel and the lodging and the food, my biggest support right now would be my wife. Her name's Somchiki, and she runs a small cosmetic business called Ngori. She deals with skincare, and so she gives a certain percentage of her profit to my project, and I'm very thankful to her because of her contribution. I've been able to continue my project,
So
and
she's,
the other friends as well. I have a few foreigner friends who contribute as well when it comes to equipments, especially the drills and the other necessary equipments.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, time here at the studio is 5:27 p.m. and we've been talking for almost half an hour. So let's take a short musical break. So yes, guys, this was Dr. Tenzing Dorji, or famously known as Dr. Tregxel Dorji, and we'll be right back.
Kuzoo FM Radio. Kuzoo FM Radio. Kuzoo FM Radio. Kuzoo FM Radio.
Hello again, listeners. This is RJ Tashi, and you're tuned into Kuzoo FM 105 and 107, depending on where you're listening from. And currently, the 10th episode of Limelight is happening, and we have Dr. Tenzing Dorji, or Tregxel Dorji, here with us for today, talking about his project, Mountain Dentist. So, just to continue, I've got to ask, when you first started this project and took your services to people's door, how did the villagers react to that?
So since it's the first time in many villages or every village that I visit,
Mm-hmm.
so it has a very common pattern.
Mm-hmm.
So the very first time I reached a village and I set up camp
Mhm.
and set up the clinic,
Mhm.
the first part of the morning,
Mhm.
I would generally just have around 4 or 5 clients coming in,
Mhm.
just out of curiosity, or
Yeah.
the local leader must have forced him to visit.
Mhm.
And then he comes in, and then he's like, "Whoa,"
Mhm.
sees all these fancy equipments, and then I start giving them the treatment, and then
Mhm.
the later part of the afternoon and evening, then that's when the whole crowd
Right,
starts
uh-huh,
pouring in,
uh-huh.
and it makes me very emotional to see people's reaction, and how they are very grateful that they could
Mhm.
uh, avail such
Services,
services,
uh-huh.
and that such services even exist.
Uh-huh.
So
Came to the doorsteps.
yes,
Uh-huh.
it came to them, and because normally if a villager, especially in this pocket community,
Mhm.
actually know that such a dental treatment exists,
Mhm.
and they decide to go to the hospital, to the closest hospital which has a dental unit,
Mhm.
he or she would have to leave their field in
Mhm.
someone else's hands,
Mhm.
the animals, and then they would actually have to hitch a ride to the nearest road point, and then take a ride to the hospital,
Mhm.
and then find a place to stay.
Allah,
And then just imagine this person reaches this hospital, and then in that hospital they do a very good thorough examination, and then they find out that it's infection, so you need to have medication and come back.
Yeah.
So coming back,
Uh-huh.
that
It's not
so
easy.
it won't be easy for the person to even imagine going through all those. So I've heard and I've come across stories where most of the people, they lose their hope in taking care of their oral
Teeth, uh-huh.
dental
Uh-huh.
health, just because of all these
Uh-huh.
hurdles. So
Uh-huh.
so knowing that I have promised them that I would come to them every year or twice a year, so the emotions that they express,
Mhm.
it's makes me emotional, and makes me want to do more.
Mhm. When you first started this project, was it like very difficult? And did you have any second guesses that you're probably doing something not feasible or sustainable?
No, the very fact that as soon as I decided to do it, I considered all the possible challenges,
Uh-huh.
and I took it as a challenge,
Okay.
and it was never gave me second doubt,
Uh-huh.
because I did mention that after meeting that first group of people and knowing that I just helped them
With
relieve
painkillers.
their pain temporarily,
Uh-huh.
and I was working in a clinic, and
Mhm.
this small voice in my head always kept on reminding me about
Mhm.
that person and that community. So um, I was ready to face all these challenges,
Mhm.
and I never looked back.
Never looked back.
No,
No second guesses.
No second guessing.
Wait, just out of curiosity, how long have you been a dentist now?
So 2014. So
14 only? Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So it's been
So 5 years when you started the project.
yes, it's
Project
close to-
Mountain Dentist.
yes,
Oh,
like-
okay, interesting. Okay, so what kind of aim and vision does this Project Mountain Bhutan have when you first started, and now with a few more experiences, maybe the vision and aims have changed?
I think in this course of this exchange that we had,
Uh-huh.
I think broadly I've mentioned about the aim and the
Yes,
vision.
uh-huh, mhm.
So trying to concise, I would say like my aim would be to make sure that every Bhutanese, regardless of where they are or how far they are from, they should receive the best. Now I won't comment on medical, but the best dental treatment, the highest standard, that everyone gets access to the best and highest standard of dentistry. And my immediate aim would be to diversify and broaden my camp, so that I could do more at the same time. And in the future, I don't want it just to be dental, but I'm mostly trying to make it as collaborative, as comprehensive as possible. So whenever I'm in a community, this project is not only about dental, but try to involve other medical fields as well, like ENT or the
Oh, okay,
eye,
interesting.
and, make it like a medical festival in a small village.
Uh-huh.
So that's the aim, I would say.
When you go around in these villages, besides giving services, do you also do like, oral health awareness program?
So my line of ideas is like, since I have committed to revisit these villages, I do not stress on a lot of oral hygiene talks in the first one, because
Okay.
it would just blow off.
Yes, yes.
It would be gibberish for them, because they've never actually seen or practiced. But
Okay,
I give them the
interesting.
basic importance of why is it important. I hand them a brush and a toothpaste and then show them how to use it, when to use it, and why it's important. And I see people making fun of it, and I see people laughing at it, and I see some taking very serious attention to it. But just for the fact that I have instilled a little idea about oral health in their head, regardless of how they think about it. Now at least they are thinking about it. So that's the initial aim. But then after the second visit, when they start getting more services, right, then I'll be talking about dental caries and oral cancers and more details.
Oral cancer is very scary. Wait, so right now, Project Mountain Dentist is like an informal group.
So it's still a initiative. That's why I call it
Initiative,
project. So whenever we plan on going to a community, or we manage to join all the dots and try make sure that all the permission necessary, get the necessary permission from that specific zongda or the administration. So then I float it out, and so it's still a project,
Okay.
but we aim to be more formal, because that's necessary in order to do it at a regular basis
Oh, so sometime in the future you would like
Yes.
register as a formal
as a formal entity.
entity.
Yes.
Okay. So, we are almost up with our time. Time here at the studio is 5:45 now.
Okay.
So, I'll move on to questions about you now. Besides,
Alright, okay,
yeah.
last.
So, did you always know that you'd end up doing a very philanthropic thing as a career growing up?
So I would not necessarily call this a career. I would call it more of a choice, because and I won't even call it philanthropy.
It
Like,
is though, yeah.
So it's a decision that make that I have chosen, because for me, at some point I started, when you start getting old, you question about the motives, you question about life and stuff, right? So for me, as long as I'm happy, and these projects give me a certain different kind of excitement, and I like that part of myself. I like to see myself excited for something.
Yes,
So
yes, of course.
yeah, so I keep on doing things which make me excited, and then it's mostly trying to bring change, help myself, trying to help others, and
Along the way.
which especially with things that I'm good at. So yeah,
So, what have you and the project achieved so far?
achieved. Okay,
Yes.
so like I said, even though if it's just the notion about the existence of or the importance of oral health and hygiene, and for me, just to go to a community and sometimes be a jester there, and let them know about oral health and hygiene, just to let them know, and something like this exists. It's huge for me and for the project at the initial stage.
Yes, yes.
So that's been the biggest achievement I've managed, and I guess that's it when it comes to a very broadened view of the achievement that we have had for the project.
You said, earlier when I asked if you had any second guesses about, about this project, you said no. But, were you ever doubtful of how successful it might be, or how well you would be able to, provide these services to the people? Because I think initially when you started, you didn't have the equipment box.
No, I did not enter a community or start the project. I waited for the equipment to actually, arrive, and then up until then, I was doing a lot of mock camps in a small room in my house. I just wanted to know because it's a different scenario working in a clinic and working in an outdoor, makeshift clinic. So me and my friend, we were doing a lot of mock, and I knew the success would be very marginal, but as a dentist, we are used to being, in a situation where our achievement is very marginal. Because when it comes to gum therapy, just to get 1 millimeter of improvement is huge. So I think we're used to that, and I'm used to it. So I was really, like I said from earlier, that I was really prepared, even if I knew that it would be a huge undertaking, but I was prepared.
We were prepared for the
just
challenges.
even if it was like a very marginal or very small improvement or achievement.
Okay, so we do still have a little bit of time. I thought we were, let me ask you about GOKAB as well. You are one of the co-founding members of GOKAB, and when I was doing this little research about you, I was like, how did this dentist end up finding or co-founding a dance company here? Like, how did that happen?
Like I mentioned, I see myself in situations where I'm excited. So when you're in India or when you're away from home, you tend to read a lot about home. You start to read about Queensland, every article that you find about Bhutan, right? So when I was in college, I started reading about these small kids. The advent in all these new form of dances and how kids were engaging more productively. And as soon as I came back from college, there was this disappearance of all these kids, and so I was wondering why. And then in Clock Tower I met these kids, and then I was asking them, and apparently they were not being treated well, especially when it comes to post performance payments, and so they were not being actually respected in that case. So then that's when I stepped in and helped them make contracts, and made sure that they get paid, and words spread, and then there were lots of kids joining in, wanted our help, and forming a small group. And I knew that they needed help, especially when it came to getting permission, because it was a new thing. And it was hip hop, right? So, and hip hop in Bhutan is like, so I knew that they would struggle. So I used my doctor chip to go to all these offices just to get permissions for them, like the home ministry and the Big Ma and stuff like that. So and now they have a full-fledged studio. They have students who went for dance scholarship, and now I think I should take the pride. Not me, but GOKAB should take the pride that just because of this initiative, now there are other studios that's coming up, and it's nice to see everyone engaged in and focused in dance and health. So that's really nice. And this whole journey with GOKAB actually made it very easy for me to jump into mountain dentistry, because mountain dentistry is also like very new, and it's close to the same thing that I faced when I helped GOKAB. So the time I'm with mountain dentistry and moving around, it did not feel very alien to me, and I was more prepared. So it was, I think, in a way, it helped me a lot when it comes to my project.
Like familiarizing yourself.
Yes, and talking to people, because sometimes you get talking to dashos and all this. It's not easy, but then it became easier for me, especially after
GOKAB.
After GOKAB.
Are you still involved with them?
Yes. So in this past few years, as we started GOKAB, then I slowly started, taking along kids with me and making sure that they shadowed my approach, or what I did, and slowly I started stepping off and giving them more responsibilities. Now me and Osanam, we are in the advisory board, and then we have given entire administrative and the management to the young set of kids,
Oh, okay.
young group of kids. So, yeah. So I've seen them grow, and now they're managing the studio and everything. So it's really
They're completely
nice.
independent now.
Yes. And they're
Okay.
training kids, so it's a huge achievement
Yes,
for GOKAB.
yes. I think they're giving classes as well.
Yes.
Yes. Well, okay. So we are at the end of our time now. Do you have any last remarks, closing remarks you want to leave before we sign off?
Yes, I would want to come back to oral health and dental.
Yes.
So normally educating on oral health is a long thing, but just to be precise, like uh, you know why you're doing things, right? Anything, regardless of oral health or anything, you should know why you're actually doing it. So if you come back to dentistry, you should know why you brush, right? So it's just to make sure that your mouth does not have any food debris. So especially when you wake up or whenever you're brushing, right? So I would not say brush with this angle to you use a soft or a medium brush, but I won't say which degree or which angle to use or something like that. But all I could say is be very mindful when you're actually doing it. So when you're up in the morning and when you're brushing, right, make sure that when the brush is actually touching your last molar on the upper side, you know that it's touching and it's cleaning
Yes.
it. So that's a form of meditation. So you do it, and then you're actually doing a good job. So you do that and you practice it every day. You just don't do it because your mom said it. So yeah, just be mindful of what you're doing, and especially when it comes to taking care of your oral health and hygiene. Enjoy your food, and the only way to enjoy your food is to have a good set of dental teeth with no problem. And then don't wait for pain. Don't make sure that pain is not an indication for you to go to visit the dentist. At least find the time, because now the hospitals here in Thimphu, they have a shift all the way to 9 p.m. So take a chance, take your time, just have a regular visit. The dentist would be happy to just evaluate and see what's happening, and if there is a small problem, it could be prevented. So I would leave on a cliche note saying prevention is better than cure, I guess.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Tregxel, Dr. Tenzing Dorji, for coming here and sharing your experience, and you're leaving a very wonderful advice to all of us here. And I've got to say, I really thank you and appreciate you for what you're doing with your Project Mountain Dentist. I think it's a very inspirational, very needed thing, because as you said, people out there don't really have access to such services we take here for granted.
Yes.
So thank you so much, La.
Yes, thank you for having me. It's a wonderful experience.
Hey, thank you, La. So listeners, that was Dr. Tenzing Dorji from Project Mountain Dentist, a very exciting project. You should definitely check it out. And RJ Tashi signing off for today. This was episode 10 of Limelight. Bye guys.
Kuzoo FM Radio. Kuzoo